Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes till the participants trickle in. Before we start, could you quickly confirm if I'm audible? You can do so by typing a yes in the chat box if you can hear me clearly. If you can just give us a go ahead, then we'll start with the session. If the audio is clear and if you can hear me clearly. Thank you. Thank you so much for confirming. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then we'll start. All right, everyone, welcome once again. We'll start with the session. A very warm welcome to the masterclass today, where we will be covering the topic data science plus GenAI and the trends, the roles, and what recruiters are also looking for in 2025. If you're curious to understand how data science careers are evolving with the rise of generative AI, then this is the right webinar just to get the exposure and then explore the future of data science. And today our masterclass will be taken by our industry expert, Mr. Aniket Chhabra. Just to give you a quick introduction about him, he has over 13 plus years of experience in AI and ML and a deep understanding of generative AI products. And he has worked extensively on creating data-driven solutions. He has previously worked with industry giants like PayPal, Fidelity Investments, and ASAPP, where he has worked at the intersection of finance, technology, and product innovation. Uh, his skill sets also encompasses predictive modeling, machine learning, and deep learning algorithms. He has done his MA in economics from the prestigious Delhi School of Economics and is also an alumni of the PGP Data Science program. So please feel free to ask all your questions and keep the session interactive. Before I hand over the session to him, I'll just quickly take you through the flow. We have kept all of the attendees in a listen-only mode. So your mode of communication would be chat or the Q&A window. And with that, I'll hand it over to Aniket.
Thank you, Smriti. Hi, everyone. I hope I'm loud and clear. Let me know if my voice is low or feeble at any point in time. So, as Smriti mentioned, the agenda is the data science plus Gen AI. Like, what are the trends in the market, and especially what recruiters are looking for as a skill set in 2025, right? We have been hearing a lot about data science in the past, and recently, like last couple of years, we have been hearing a lot about Gen AI, especially AI engineering, as a new skill set that is emerging in the market, right? So the objective of this session is to understand like what are the skill set that we need to acquire to become a data science in the Gen AI world, and how great learning can actually help you achieving that, right? So what is the path that we should follow? Great Learning suggests you to follow the courses that it offers, how it aligns with the trends of the market is something that we're going to discuss today. Um, as Smiti mentioned also about the questions. So what we will do is in the next 40 to 45 minutes, I'll walk you through a deck that I have, the slides. Again, I'll not cover all the slides, but the main slides which I feel will be important for you to have in terms of the key the takeaways that we can have, and any questions anyone has regarding the slides, the topic that I'm covering in general, questions also, feel free to post the questions in the Q&A section or the chat section, whichever works for you guys. So with that, let's move on to the agenda. So already talked about my introduction, so I'm not going to detail, skip this part. So let's first understand like what exactly data science is, because there is an audience who is unfamiliar with data science as a domain, as a competency, like what it is. Um, so these slides cover the process of a data science project. Like exactly, if I if I'm working as a data scientist in a company, so what do I do in terms of when I start working on a project, right? So what is my workflow? Right? So let's say the customer comes to me and share the problem statement that I need to solve. So what will be my first step to last step? Delivering the project. How do I deliver that? A data science project is something that we're going to cover in this slide, right? So a data scientist, and this is especially from data scientist perspective. So if you look at the right-hand side diagram, the flow, we'll start from step number 1. Here, the step number 0 is to understand the problem statement. Assuming that you are working with your manager, with your mentor to understand the problem statement. If you're new to data science, if you're experienced, then you already know about nuances of the problem statement. But the idea is to talk to customer and get an understanding of the problem statement that you're trying to solve. That is one. That is step number 0. Then step number 1 is that, okay, after understanding the problem statement, the next step is to collect the data. Now you are a data scientist. Our main role and objective is to solve the problem with the data, right? So any business problem, we have to convert into a data problem. So then you collect the required data. Now, when I say collect, the data set can be stored somewhere, right? So when I say stored somewhere means that any data you're analyzing, the databases should store the data, which we access, right? How do we access that? We may be using SQL queries, and data may be sitting somewhere in the SQL databases or no SQL databases, depends upon what data you are, your company is using, right? So what database company is using, whether the data is in SQL databases or no SQL databases. Our role will be acquire the data, collect the data via using SQL queries. So then the skill set that at this step is required is the SQL knowledge. So we need to be good in SQL so that we can fetch the data independently using the SQL queries. After you collect the data where the data is stored, the third step is the cleaning part. Now, data is stored as a company. If I look at the overall database, right? So the database is not supposed to only serve data science problems, right? There can be other problems in the company. Somewhere like data can be analyzed engineering purposes, experimentation purposes, and some many domains purpose. Let's say you are working in finance or maybe marketing. There's another domain, sales domain. The data may be like containing sales data as well, or databases may be containing sales data as well. So in those cases, the idea is that you actually have to clean the data or use the data for your problem statement. You might have to do some pre-processing on the data, right? Which means that the data needs to be cleaned for further uses. What is your further use? You want to build a model, or maybe you want to analyze the data for analytical, queries that you want to run on the data. You need to have data in a certain form. That is where the cleaning part comes into picture. After that, after you clean that, here also you use the skills, SQL skills, and sometimes if it's more complex cleaning, people use Python as well. So which means that at step number 3 and step number 4 is also combined, because that's integration. Integration is nothing but like multiple data sets or databases you need to join. There may be, like, let's say one table is a customer table, another table in the database is an order table. So you might have to join those two tables. You need to join them. You need to integrate the tables to get the required data that you have. So all these operations are either done in SQL or done in Python. So which means that until step number 4, we need to have the knowledge of SQL and Python both as a tool. Then only we'll be able to collect the data, process the data, clean the data, and joining multiple databases. After that, analysis part comes into picture, which is the data analysis that you have to perform on the data, which is answering the questions or solving the problem that you first discussed with the customer, right? So here you have collected the data. Now you started converting the data, the problem into data to insights, which we have to share, right? So then you analyze the data, which means you perform certain analytical queries. For example, let's say you may be doing some group by aggregations, right? Let's say product wise total revenue, or maybe number of people who are visiting your website, number of people who are buying the products, customer segmentation. These are all analysis or analytical queries that you run on the data. After that, now how do you share this form, which is step number 6 here? How do you share this data with the customer? It has to go in a form, which means that you cannot share just the Excel or just the, like, Python notebook that you have worked upon. You need to convert the data into presentable form, and that presentable form is a visualization form. So here at step number 6, you need to represent the data in a presentable form so that customers can understand what you're trying to say. For that, we can do this in two ways. One, we can do either in some visualization tools like Tableau or Power BI, which are very common tools in the industry. Or you can also use Python Python to visualize the data, which means you can generate plots using Python query or Python language, and then create those charts. And those charts are added to slides, and then you share the insights into slides with the visualization with the customer. So whichever way the requirement we have, we'll serve those requirements, right? So, like, which means that here at step number 6, what skills we need as a tool? We need to have Python knowledge. Also, we need to have Tableau knowledge. Depends on what we are trying to solve for. So then Python, SQL, Tableau, these 3 tools are something that we need to have the knowledge for. Step number 7 is then once you share the insights, right, which is again now converting the data, the analysis into non-technical piece where you share the insights with the customer understand that non-technical way. That's where the customer decide to take some further actions. Now, let's say you are recommending these customers we should provide promotion to these customers, pricing discount to these customers. Then accordingly, what will happen? That customer will take actions to their customers, which means whoever is the user of your insights will actually implement those insights in their business domain. It's called decision making process, right? Or decision making based on the data that you share. And that's how the loop completes. Correct? So in this way, you started from understanding the problem statement, and your delivery is that where the business is able to take some actions, right? And there you measure the efficiency of your project, or in terms of like the benefits of your project, like what have you shared, is it beneficial really to the customer or not, right? So that's how the data science project works, or you can say a overall process of data science project. Moving on to the second step. So in the moving on the second part. So first part was we actually analyze a project flow for a data science project. In this page, what you have is you have the modeling process. Now, let's say we were talking about here like step number 5, analysis, data analysis. Let's say instead of analysis, you have to expand the analysis, including predictive analytics, which means you might have to build a machine learning model. How that process works, right, is something explained on this page. One, again, the process remains the same. Understanding the problem statement, you look at the data, overall cleaning, sanity checks you perform. EDA is the analysis which we have to perform, which is generating the insights, creating plots, relevant relationship between the data points. After that, you get the data in a model ready data form, which means that directly the data after cleaning can be used for the modeling. You choose one model, That is a part of model building process. After cleaning the data, you start building the model, the machine learning model. Now here, data scientists have to have the knowledge of Python as a tool, also machine learning algorithms, like what model to use, when to use what model is very important for a data scientist as a skill set to have. There are scenarios where different models are used. For example, fraud detection is one of the area where classification models are used, starting from logistic regression up to, let's say, neural networks. Versus if you have a problem where you want to predict, let's say, price or sales, revenue, those things are regression-based models where you use techniques, algorithms like regression, linear regression up to, let's say, boosting or maybe neural network there also you can build. So that also is a skill set that a data scientist should have. After that, you train the model. After training the model, the next step is to validate the model. Validation of the model means checking the accuracy of the model, whether the model is consistent in performance on the unseen data. Unseen data is something where we actually do the testing on the model, right? And after testing, we make sure, okay, our model is perfect in the terms of like whatever we can achieve with the model, maximum accuracy. There are a few accuracy metrics that we check, depends upon what type of technique we are using. That then we go for the deployment of the model or becomes a final model, which we share with the customer. Okay, so that's a data science model flow, ML model flow. Let's now talk about the skill set. I have been talking the skill set briefly in the last two slides as well, but let's understand the detail, like what are the core skills a data scientist should possess to become a good data scientist or grow in the career. So or getting into the domain, right? So the first one are mathematical expertise. So when I say mathematical expertise, so it's not that like you have to become a mathematician, right, to become a data scientist, but core math skills, foundation math skills should be there. For example, you should be good with numbers, right? So basic numbers analysis should be you should be able to do that easily. So for example, let's say analyzing maybe a trend chart. Let's say the revenue is increasing last 6 months versus revenue is increasing last year 6 months. So you should be good in that comparison, the relative comparison of the data, right? So solving some equations, basic maths equations, right? Understanding the patterns in the data, identifying the noise in the data. There are outliers in the data, there are missing values in the data. So those things you should be able to analyze it properly, right? It's also based on the insight, like when you see the data, are you really able to generate the insights from the data? Are you able to measure the accuracy? There are some metrics that you use, for model performance. Those you should be good at. So there are some basic skills that are needed, which are part of mathematical skills, but you should have to become a data scientist. Those you should definitely have. Second, strong business acumen. Now, this is when you say business acumen, this is, of course, not applicable to freshers, but people who are already in the industry, who are changing the domain, let's say from X domain to Y domain, or let's say you're coming from non-data science competency, then you should be having some knowledge about, the business acumen. For example, you're marketing, right? Marketing is one domain. Now, in the marketing, you do analytics and you do a lot of other, core marketing work as well. So analytics is one part of that. So when you move to data analytics in marketing side, you should know about marketing. Then only you'll be able to contribute more, right? Like what to measure, when to measure. For example, you want to launch a campaign, right, in the marketing to customers. Now, what campaign to launch is a core marketing work. But how to launch the campaign, like which customers to target, how to measure the performance of the campaign is an analytical work that we have to understand, right? Now, here, if you understand marketing, you very well understand, like, okay, from business point of view, what should we target for, and then how to measure the performance. Rest of the process is calculation, right? So that's where the business acumen comes into picture. That is again not for freshers. Freshers focus on primarily core skills, the technical skills, and as you grow in your career, as you become senior, then you focus more on the business acumen or SME, the subject matter experts skills more. They matter more. Then technology skills. This I already talked about, right? Primarily the skills are like now, if you look at from data science point of view, Python is the core language skills that you should have. SQL is the second one. Then there are tools which are like for analysis, visualization, like Tableau, Power BI, Excel. These tools are very important for you to succeed, right? So these three skills or three types of skills are very important to become a data scientist. If anyone has any questions in any of these categories, please raise your questions or point in the chat. Okay, so now let's move to after skill set, after processes, let's now understand the roles and responsibilities of a data scientist or in the world of overall data. So if you look at the two circles here, right? So there are three roles that are being mentioned: data engineer, data scientist, and business analyst. I'll tell the difference between the three. So first is the data engineer, which is the core engineering skill. This is different from data science skill set or machine learning skill set. Why? Because here the role of a data engineer is to not work on the machine learning model or not work on the analytics part. The core work of a data engineer is building the data architecture, right? Making sure that data is up and running so that other teams like data science teams or analytics teams should be able to use your data. So the role of a data engineer is to building, the organization level data architecture, the structure, data, maintaining databases, making sure the data is being updated in the databases on time, data is being accessed, like teams are able to access the data properly, data is correct. So in the databases, the data management and when as well as data processing is the responsibility of a data engineer. This is a part of engineering team, like this skill is a part of engineering team. So generally, these people are with data engineering skill set or core engineering skill set. They join these teams. Then you are called as a data engineer, like maintaining SQL databases, no SQL databases, etc. The second role is a data scientist role, which briefly I talked about. The data scientist role is the role of a data science where your role responsibility is to build predictive models primarily. So what happens is that you the project flow that I talked about in this slide, right? This is where the data scientist role plays an important role. Like this is what you have to do as a data scientist, right? So building the predictive models, validating the model, making sure the good models are in customers, like solving the problems with predictive models. So all those tasks are performed by data scientists. So then what are the skill set you should have? These skill set, which we talked about in the previous slide. Technical skill set, which is a business acumen skill set and strong, mathematical expertise. That is something needed, right? Then you have the third is a business analyst. So here the business analyst is the skill set of sorry, yeah. So the business analyst skill set is where the difference between the data scientist and business analyst is that the data scientist work on modeling, machine learning models or predictive modeling. Data analysis doesn't mandate you to work on the modeling piece. It is primarily the analysis of the data, which is the first slide that we talked about. This is the flow of a data analyst or an analytics project task, right? So where you're not building predictive models specifically, but you're of course analyzing data, generating reports, generating dashboards. In the business analyst or data analyst, both are the same. You primarily work on the reporting piece, analytics piece, the campaign measurement example in the marketing that I talked about, Tableau, Power BI. These are the tools that you use day in and day out for your reports or for your analysis. Data scientist uses Python a lot to build predictive models, classification, regression models, right? Starting from logistic regression to neural network is something the responsibility a data scientist play. Okay, so that's the difference between these three roles and their responsibilities. That's something for in the data domain. Now, let's talk about the other skill, which is pretty common in the last couple of years, right? Especially after the launch of ChatGPT, right? November 2022. The new domain is the is called GenAI, called Generative AI domain. So far, the AI that we have been talking about is um, the you can say that as a discriminative AI, right? Or normal AI, you can call it. So discriminative AI, the role of a discriminative AI is to primarily optimize the solution, right? So in a way, the goal that you are trying to do, for example, let's say fraud detection. Now, fraud detection is an optimization problem. How you have, data available where historically, like you collected the data of people who have done frauds and not and known no frauds, and then you collected the features of those, individuals, customers, users, accounts, etc. Whatever problem that you're solving. Now, what you try to do is you try to predict, okay, if these are the characteristics of an account, whether that account will do a fraud or not, analyze this from the historical patterns and tell me the prediction of the new data point that you receive. That is what you're trying to solve for. This is a pure optimization problem that you learn something from history and then try to predict the future based on that history, right? How Gen AI or generative AI changing that is where now you are not only talking about those predictions or the optimization. Primarily, the focus here is to generate using AI. So when I say generate, it can be anything. The starting or the fundamental thing is the text generation, where you generate the content, the text. So, for example, let's say if I ask AI to give me a book summary, how it will give me that? There's a book, 400 pages. I want a summary of the book in 10 pages. How will the AI do that? That is where generative AI will, solve this problem. It will actually read the book. So, which means that it has the context of reading the book. And then after reading the book, it synthesizes the information from the book and then summarizes the output, which is the question that we have. The question is that we want a book summary, maybe in 10 pages from the 400 pages book. So then what it will do is it will synthesize all the data from the book, the text it has read, and then try to generate the summary, right, of the book in 10 pages. So here the task is that you're asking AI to generate something, not only classify or predict. Underlying technology is the same, which means it will also do the prediction. It's called next word prediction or token prediction, right? So where it will take one word, try to predict the next word. Then it'll take two words, then try to predict the next third word. Then it'll take the three words as input and try to predict the next word, which is fourth word. So like that, one by one, it'll keep predicting the tokens it has taken into consideration. But the idea overall for you, it is a generative problem because you are asking the model to generate something, not only classify. Underlying technology, the work is to predict, the next word based on the previous word. It's a classification task only. So that is the difference between generative AI and a normal AI, or we call distinctive AI that we have been using. So here, what you're trying to do is you're giving the different type of task which AI can solve for you. So book summary is example. So a lot of marketing teams now using AI to generate, content. Now a lot of marketing content is AI generated content. There'll be movies, stories written in by AI, right? So let's say you are having a meeting with your customer, the meetings, recordings, summarization of the meeting notes. These are the tasks that are being performed by AI now. That is generative AI. Okay. So now let's understand the impact of that AI in the on data science. So here you see in the right hand side there are four quadrants, right? So the four quadrants are, you can see, let's like to learn. The quadrant actually gives you the information that okay, to learn Gen AI, what are the areas that we need to understand? These are all the four areas which we need to understand. Okay, so so the first part is the top right quadrant that you have is um, the Gen AI technologies. So what are the technologies? So which So if you look at the talk about the ML technologies, we had classification, regression that I talked about. AI is also the same. There are classifications, regression problems, there are computer vision problems, right? Deep learnings, etc., that we have been using, right? For AI, for Gen AI especially, there is a new technique, or especially the skill that is required, is prompt engineering, which means that these models are available to you. How to access the information, how to get the information that you want from these models is not by predicting something. The way you communicate with these models is prompt engineering via prompt. You just like chat GPT, right? What do? You just ask a question in natural language and get the answer. To get the right answer, you have to send the right question to chat GPT. That is where, like, now how do you know that the question is right or wrong? You would only be able to know once you get the answer from it, like whether you, because if you get the right answer, which means that you have sent the right question. If you did not get the right answer, so there could be two possibilities here. One, either your question was wrong, or the GenAI model was not able to perform well, which means that the accuracy was low of the GenAI model. But the way you communicate is prompt only, right? That's where the prompt is. So then what do? Let's say if you do not get the desired answer that you're looking for, you change your prompt, you change your question, send it again. Maybe this time you send with examples. Okay, I want this output. Let's say, for example, you are asking the chat GPT to generate a Python code. So then what will you do? You'll ask the question, okay, I have this problem. Can you generate a Python code for me? It will generate the Python code for you, send it to you. Now that Python code can be right or can be wrong. Again, there are two possibilities. One possibility is that you ask the question, or you ask the incorrect question. Your question was not right. That's why the answer that you got was not right. Or you ask the right question, but you did not get the right answer because ChatGPT was not able to answer it correctly. So then what do? You change your question. Maybe this time you share some Python, another code example which you have. Okay, I'm solving this problem with this way. Can you share the code with me again? And now you check this time again. Okay, whether the answer second time is right or wrong. Again, if it is right, then which your question is right. If it's wrong, there are two possibilities, right? So like that, you iterate over. But this iteration problem or iteration process is called prompt engineering, right? The good part about these GenAI technology is the way you interact is you don't have to be a technical expert to interact with these models. In AI or machine learning, you have to know Python coding, then only you'll be able to access the model. Otherwise, you won't be able to access the machine learning models or deep learning model. But with GenAI, you can access via natural language. You can share your prompt, get the answer, right? But of course, the people who are developing the applications, AI applications, so one is a user, the end user. They don't have to be a technical expert. But the people who are building the AI applications using these GenAI technologies, right? So for example, tools like Copilot, tools like Cursor, Replit, all these companies like who have built the code, the application developer, the AI engineers that are working there, they have to be a good prompt engineers because they have to write the right prompts to give you the right, model so that you can access it and then you can get the answer. So the AI application developers are building applications for you, for end user to use, right? Their prompt engineering is required, which means if you join a company who is building AI products for their customers, you need to be good in prompt engineering. But as a day-to-day uses in ChatGPT or Claude or any other model, you don't have to be a prompt engineer, right? You just know how to use it. Of course, your prompts also get better and better as you use more and more, but that's the idea overall. The second way is that these models, or the way these models are available to you via APIs. So it means that like AI models, the ML models, we had to train, or we have to train whenever the problem, like fraud detection model, is you always have to train a new model whenever you're solving a fraud detection problem, right? You cannot use any other existing models because your company data, your process, you look at the historical data, predict the fraud, fraud happened or not happened, like that. That's what you're solving for. But in this GenAI part, the good thing about GenAI is that you don't have to train the models always, which means the models are available to you as a service, as an API. You just call that API, like the way ChatGPT is. ChatGPT is what? It's a wrapper around LLM technology called GPT, let's say maybe 4.0. That's the model, underlying LLM model that's running back in the backend. What you do is you go to ChatGPT, ask a question in natural language, it automatically calls that model, the API, and gets you the response. So these models are available to you as as a service or as an API, which you need to access. So there are lots of now companies who are offering you API. Claude is one, OpenAI, right? Hugging Face, Google's Vertex AI. All these are platforms which are providing you access to these models. Not only that, you have applications also. Now the products have also started coming. I talked about Cursor, Replit, Canva. These are the tools that are like, again, AI. They're using AI in or Gen AI in their backend, right? Or you can basically use these tools, their inbuilt AI, and perform your tasks. For example, let's say I want to generate a design, product prototype. I can just go to products like Lovable or let's say Bolt or let's say Replit, go there and generate the prototype that I want to generate, design a prototype I want to generate. So then I can directly use those applications, right? Let's say a lot of edtech platforms have come up with AI as a service. So which means that you can actually explore their products, which are AI based products. Let's, for example, there's some AI tutor is teaching you some maths questions or English, etc. So those are like using GenAI application. Then the last part is you might have also like there are problems which can only be solved by you by building your own models. So there, what you do is you actually train or you actually um, um, update your models via techniques like RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, or fine tuning. So which are like updating the models based on your requirements. So sometimes even ChatGPT might not give you answers which are not in the right format you want, not in the right output you want, or let's say not does not have information that you wanted to access. So all those things can be solved by techniques like RAG or fine tuning. So this is how like you can use GenAI, learn GenAI. Now the question is, how can you like the impact of GenAI in data science? So GenAI is a separate capability. It's a competency that is, the last few years, we have seen that in the market it has come up. Companies, especially like companies like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, these are looking for people who have AI engineering skills, which means who can work on these AI applications, because everybody is building, big companies, large companies, or even small companies are building AI applications. To work on those applications, we need the skills which are AI, Gen AI skills, right? So those things you should, so 1 to 4, all of these, you must know to become a AI engineer. And that's a separate competency apart from data science. The data science competency is still there. People still work on ML problems. People still work on analytics problems, issues, but Gen AI is also kicking in, which is automating few stuff in the existing process like data science and analytics, but also adding more capabilities there, more products be built with Gen AI where people will work as an AI engineer. That's a separate, skill set. So after talking about data science, the project flow, Gen AI, right? Let's now look at the market, how the market looks like, or especially the job market, the trends. You can see that there is a double-digit, CAGR in growth in the job market for the last many years, couple of years. And it's going to remain the same in the next 6 years, 2024 to 2030. The projection is 26% growth, in the data science platform, like the job market. So which means there is a good opportunity for people who are entering in this field. There is a job, there will be jobs or more jobs in this domain, right? So we should grab this opportunity. In terms of numbers, you can see both globally and then NASSCOM data in India. Globally, there'll be 11.5 million data science jobs by 2026, by next year. And then there is a 300% growth. When I say 300% growth, increase the number of roles. So number of roles between 2022 to 2030, the number of people who are working in the data science domain will be 3 times. And that's a huge jump, which means that's the only area which is actually growing in terms of job market. So AI, in fact, we have been seeing in the news also, right? So a lot of companies are going through restructuring, reorganizing their different departments, um, um, what do you call verticals, where people are actually now they have made it mandatory to have the AI skills. You should know, you must know AI to sustain, to survive in the company. Okay. So we have talked about primarily the data science, data engineer, and business analyst role. So these are actually the designation or the career path you can see for a people who are working in both the engineering, data engineering domain. You can see the couple of roles here. Data science domain, which is like ML scientist, data scientist, statistician, right? All these are areas where data scientists work. And then there are business analysts, you can see reporting analyst, manager of analytics. These are the roles that are available for data analyst domain people. So there is an opportunity. You can see the number of roles are available. People, again, depends upon their competency, more technical, less technical, can fit into any of these domains, any of these roles. Sorry. Okay. Now, what is the career path, right? So for these roles, so in terms of like career path, so what is your journey, the career journey looks like, right? So one is that between 0 to 2 years, you work as junior analyst, junior data scientist, who is responsible for, of course, like more technical work with the help of their mentors, their buddies, managers, etc. Once you once you cross 2 years, then you are into 2 to 5 years of category. Primarily you work as a specialized, now you actually become try to become more like project ownership, you know um, get into that role of project ownership where you take the start taking the responsibility of project. Still there is a mentor, there's a buddy who will guide you there, but the main goal or the primary responsibility is to become independent in the next few years, as soon as in the next few years, where you are able to handle things independently. But at this point in time, also, you become a little senior, but start handling, solving problems independently. Third, the 5 to 10 years period is something that is your, you can say, you're now into not senior leadership role, but in a manager role, I would say, or assistant manager role, where you start managing things now. So managing the customers, maybe managing a team as well, it depends upon company to company, right? So now into managing position, solve the problems, ownership on end-to-end ownership is with you, etc. 10 plus years is mainly the senior leadership role, where now you are actually not only a team, you're managing a whole process, a whole domain. Let's say, for example, risk, fraud is one area that you're fully managing, right? So like that, you might be managing multiple teams, or in fact, 15 plus years, you will become a leader, right? Head of something. So that's a career path. So these are all the things about the data science or Gen AI career path, progress, etc. Let's talk about now great learning, like what opportunity great learning is, bringing here for you guys, in terms of the opportunity, right? So for example, here, yeah. So in terms of the programs, right? So there are a couple of programs Great Learning is offering. The business analyst analytics program, right, is one of the best program in the industry. In terms of overall, as a Great Learning, as a brand, it has partnerships across the globe. University of Texas, Austin, you can see Northwestern University, John Hopkins College. You can see that there are like global partnerships, which means that there are programs available where you get a dual degree as well, or dual diploma certificate as well. Along with that, the program or especially there are programs across the globe, as I said, available for 170 plus country students. 400 million of plus learning hours has been delivered, and there are like across the program the ratings, the user rating or the student rating is 4.8 out of 5, which is exceptional, right? Not only that, there have been successful career transitions as well. Significant number, like 18,000 plus career transitions have happened. 4,000 plus hiring partners are there, right? So, and also not only the learners, the students, right? There is a mentor community as well. People who are called gurus, like people like me who come from the industry, teach you, guide you wherever there is a course requirements, etc. It is for you. It is so there's a mentor community available as well. All of that you get the access. Now let's talk about the particular course that we are discussing here is PGP Data Science. This is an updated course where the new module on GenAI has come, which is again introducing you with Chat GPT and then generative AI technology, right? So where the idea is to um, the focusing like mainly on the prompt engineering part or how to use chat gpt on day-to-day basis, help how to take help from gen ai technology to solve answer your questions in your day-to-day workflow, because everybody is using ai in the, as I said, in the large organization now, right? People either are developing the applications or using gen ai. Along with that, you have the AI and business analytics module, which is again data science and business analytics modules, specifically focusing on the statistical skills, mathematical skills, machine learning skills, tools, Python, SQL, Power BI, Tableau, which you get the knowledge of. And not only that, that's a theoretical part of it. There's a practical part of it where you actually work on projects, the tools, the case studies that you work on. So there are 60 plus case studies that you work in this program. Every month, there are 4 case studies that you approximately solve, and there are 11 months of program. So 45 to 50 case studies plus hackathon plus projects that you do. So it means it's like a workshop experience you get. It's not only the course theory that you're learning. It is actually along with the theory, you are also doing project work, hands-on, experience on building the models. And these are all real world problems coming from industry gurus. Great Learning's content team has curated the content so that it gives you the, again, practical experience. Overall, the program is for 12 months. It is one of the top programs by Great Learning, number 3. Again, what you access is that technical skills, there is a peer-to-peer learning part, the hands-on experience that I talked about, right? Projects, and there is a dedicated program support as well from Great Link. That is very important for you. Okay. Very quickly, the curriculum part, right? So what is covered, especially people who are coming from non-technical background, non-data science background, shifting from a separate domain altogether. What is the focus in the course is very important for you guys. So you can see the flow here. I'll high level touch upon and then I'll answer questions. I know the questions will come here, but I divide the skills into 3 parts, which I previously also spoke. One is the tool level knowledge. You learn the tools from fundamental, from the start, right? From the foundations, knowledge, which means first is that you learn Python from day zero, like as if you're actually starting to learn Python, SQL from day zero, Tableau or Power BI, one of the tools, plus Excel, and other tools that you use on day-to-day basis. So you get the tool level knowledge, which are the must have tools. And of course, now I add GenAI, then prompt engineering, chat GPT user history. That also becomes a tool for you, right? So that you use on a day-to-day basis as a data scientist will be taught to you from the beginning, from the start itself, from the foundations. That's one. Second is the technical skills point of view, which is the ML skills or AI skills. What are the skills? Classification models, regression models, starting from supervised learning, unsupervised learning, deep learning, all the models, right? Like there are around 7 to 8 modules dedicated to machine learning and AI, deep learning, that are covered here. The third is the business knowledge, which is where like the case studies part, you can see business analytics modules or the career here the case study projects, right? Business case study project. These are the skills which is giving you the experience of like as if you're solving the problems, the real world problems, building the case studies, right? Doing hands-on work. So all knowledge that you've gathered is now transferred to your like building part. Now you start building the stuff on your own. Right? Of course, there are gurus, mentors who can help you, but the idea is to build on your own, which is the projects, the hackathons, the case studies that you work on, right? So these are the three areas where the skills or the course is divided in terms of curriculum, right? So it's both theory plus more hands-on, I would say, less theory, but there is theory, of course, theory has to be there. But the primary focus is on hands-on learning. Okay. Of course, these tools and languages are I've already talked about. Um, so this is what from the learning point of view, overall from the course. Now we can take up questions from everyone. One by one, you can post your question in the chat. I'll stop sharing, but anyone has any question on the slides, happy to share it back. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about the questions, the answers. I mean, any questions I can answer. Okay. So Imran is asking, how can I start my learning for AI in automation application? So that's a good question. What we have to do here is, which I said earlier, right? So there is a module where in the course, there are two parts. One is data science at work, which means you can actually, whenever the module, you go through a module, there is a section which mentors actually cover, which is called data science at work, which means you bring up your problems you are trying to solve in your area, like example, automation application that you have. So how to solve them, you discuss with the mentors using AI. So then you discuss this in your sessions, and then brainstorm that problem and then try to solve it in the sense that again mentors can guide you there, and then you can go back and apply those techniques and see what is the output of that, and then come back with further questions or doubts or clarifications if needed. Make sense? So this is covered in the as part of the course. Okay. The second question is from Sunidhi. She's asking, can I make a transition from chemical engineer to data science after 6 years? That's a good question. That's another good question. See, the only point is that you're coming from a different domain. So there are two ways you need to understand this point, right? So one is that uh, people who are experienced and coming from related domain, for example, somebody coming from core sales, somebody coming from let's say marketing, so they will have to make a move, which is lateral move. You move from the same domain, you try to move it from non-analytics, work to analytics side or competency. You're working in maybe a different competency. Now you're moving to analytics competency within marketing, within sales. There you actually save your, I would say, domain experience because you're technically moving in the same domain, doing different kind of projects. Here, people, especially who are coming from different domain altogether, like chemical engineering is a different area, right? So there you might have to start, depends again, company to company, role to role. You might have to start, and you should be open for that also, right? Because depends upon your growth, what's like the current role that you are in, and then future growth, etc. Those pros and cons you have to measure. But the idea is you might have to start as a beginner or from fresh in terms of the career, not the salary part, not um, 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 the experience part. You still have customer handling experience, you still have like corporate experience, that's valid. But from data science point of view, you will be considered as a fresher. But that is okay as long as your salary is you're not compromising that much. Um, um, and as long as like you are, you know, um, until like close to 5 to 6 is still a good time. If you want to make a shift, you can make a shift. The point is that I hope that that answers the question, Nidhi. So which means that for you, it might be a new start, but those pros and cons you have to analyze. And I would also recommend, especially people who are coming from different domain altogether, they should have a one-on-one discussion with your mentors. Like, what should I do next? Right. So in terms of when you start giving interviews or start giving having discussions um, um, with the companies, you should discuss this with your mentors. There are lots of companies. Again, we don't need to. Also, one more point here: data science is a horizontal, like it's a competency. You can today you are working in finance, tomorrow you can go to marketing, you can go to tomorrow, let's say, sales. So currently you're working in retail domain, tomorrow you can go to, let's say, fintech domain, etc. So you can actually make a move across the domains, right? So there's no specific company or there's no specific uh, um, domain. It's just that, like, you are working as a horizontal. Your profile is eligible for across um, um, different business verticals. Okay. Yeah. Any further questions?
Thank you, Aniket, for taking the session. I think we have covered all the questions, so we can wrap up.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Anyone who's interested in fast tracking their admission process in the PGP data science program, or if you have any queries that you want to get answered, please fill the form and our team will get in touch with you. Thank you.